What's going on, everyone? Chargers Now is presented by Prize Picks. I am your host, Will Ortner. And on today's program, I need to break down what's going wrong with the Chargers schedule because I got even more bad news for Los Angeles Chargers fans. I think there's a lot of people in this fandom. Probably a lot of people in the organization. Probably a lot of players on the football team that are looking at the schedule for the Chargers and they're going, this is absolutely ridiculous what we have to deal with. And it isn't just the fact that the Chargers have to play multiple teams that are coming off their bye week. There's even worse news that we have to get into on today's show. And I want to ask you right off the very top, is there a team with a worse schedule going on right now in the National Football League than the Los Angeles Chargers? Because I frankly don't think that there's a other team that has to deal with a more difficult schedule than our team in Los Angeles. It's ridiculous, and the NFL should not have done this. When you look at the schedule for the Chargers, you start the first 2 weeks off with two of the easier teams on your schedule. The Cardinals and Raiders will not be very good. Now, Las Vegas will be a little bit improved, and because they're an in-division game, that's going to step up a little bit. But weeks 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, there's no easy week in there. The bye week, I almost feel like the NFL threw in because you're just going after heavyweight fight after heavyweight fight after heavyweight fight. Josh Allen, the defending Super Bowl champion Seahawks, Broncos, a team that was in the AFC Championship game a year ago, and they might win it if Bo Nix doesn't get hurt. By week 6, Patrick Mahomes is going to be 100% healthy. And then the Rams, probably the second best team in the National Football League the previous year. That's an absolute gauntlet to get going through the year. Guess what? The gauntlet's not over there, though, because on week 9, you're playing the Houston Texans. That's a team that's going to be better. And then Jesse Minter tries to get his revenge, although it's not really a revenge game, but it's a student versus the master game. That is a run from week 3 to week 10. Difficult game after difficult game after difficult game. Now it evens up. It gets easier as things get going through there, right? You got some easing up against the Jets. Now the Patriots, I think they're going to be a good team. Depending on what the Buccaneers are doing, are they going to be good? Are they going to be bad? Raiders not nearly as good, but then you end the year on a pretty good run too with the only for sure win game is that game against the Miami Dolphins. I look at this schedule, really opponent list for the Chargers, and I tell you right now, it's a brutal opponent list. You're playing the AFC West twice. You're playing the NFC West. You got good teams in your AFC matchups. It's brutal. And we already know one issue that was going to happen for this team in Los Angeles. You're going to have to play 4 opponents coming off their bye weeks. Now, I look at this crew of teams, the Chiefs, Texans, and Patriots. Those are all teams that are going to be in the hunt for the postseason. Raiders, probably not, but look, that's going to be a much improved team. And those are a bunch of squads right now that we all know how to win football games. I mean, even the Raiders, their head coach, Clint Kubiak, literally just won a Super Bowl. So you're playing teams that have extra time to prepare against you, making these games extra tough. And 2 of the 4 teams that you're playing made the postseason, and one of the teams that didn't make the postseason has the best freaking quarterback in the National Football League right now. And if he's not the best, well then shoot. He's pretty darn close to it. When we look at these games that the Chargers are going to have to undertake, it is an absolutely brutal schedule. And it's brutal that you have to play 4 teams off of their byes. But unfortunately, the rest of today's video, I'm going to tell you that it gets worse. That's just the tip of the iceberg for this team in Los Angeles. Because the more that I did research on it, we already did a video where we told you how bad it was to have those 4 games against opponents that are coming off their byes. It actually leads to a bigger problem that not a lot of people are talking about. Now, luckily, Warren Sharp Analytics and the rest of that crew, they are talking about it. And so I was able to do a little bit more research and really break down what that means. And I'm telling you right now, this Chargers schedule, it might be the worst schedule, not in 2026, in ever. I'll tell you about that in just a second. But I got to let you know that today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. PrizePicks is America's #1 sports picks app and is the best place to win cash while watching sports. With playoff basketball finally here, there's no better time to cash in than with our friends at PrizePicks. And I'll tell you this, the app is really easy to use. To qualify for a PrizePicks lineup, pick 2 to 6 players and select more or less on stat projections, including points, rebounds, assists, three-pointers, and several others across all sports. One thing I love is the new social feeds feature where you can share PrizePicks with your friends and copy lineups with a single click. You can actually follow me on the app at BigWill7774 to see all of my lineups. I have a lineup for the football action going on later on this year. Full season lineup here. Justin Herbert, more on his passing yards. Quentin Johnston, more on his receiving TDs. Rashid Shaheed, more on his receiving yards. New user offer. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with PrizePicks. Clickable link to download the app is in the comments and description. The Los Angeles Chargers, and it's going to be hard to see, but I'm telling you, just look at the very bottom where all the red is. The Chargers have the worst rest differential in the entire National Football League. Now, I know there are going to be some people that are going to say, Will, what does that mean in non-nerd speak? Well, here's the cool thing. I went and I did the research, so I will be able to tell you what it means. Rest differential is the measurement between days off between games for two opponents. So if Team A plays on Sunday and their next game is on a Sunday, they would have 6 days off or 7 days in between, however you want to measure that. If Team B had a game on Monday night, they would have 5 days off between that game or 6 days in between. So Team A would have a +1 rest differential. The Chargers have a historically bad amount of rest differential games that they have to deal with. Now, why does this matter? Well, first of all, teams don't want to have less rest, right? If you have less rest than your opponent, there's a chance that you're not as recovered. You're maybe dealing with some injury stuff. Guys aren't able to get healthy. The other thing is, well, your opponents, they get more rest. If they get more rest, they have more opportunity to prepare for you. They have more opportunities to be healthy. They have more opportunities to be on the right track for that game. Now, you might say to yourself, well, rest might be a bit of an anomaly, or it's a small, minute thing that isn't really going to factor into games as much as you might think. Well, these are all teams that had positive rest differential in the 2025 football season. Now, these aren't the only teams that had that, and they aren't necessarily the teams that had the best, but they all had a positive rest differential. The Seahawks and Rams and 49ers all won double-digit games. The Lions, they won 9. They really should have won a lot more. And a Miami Dolphins team that was actually imploding, well, they won 7 games. So positive rest differential is a good thing. What does negative rest differential mean? I'll tell you after you hit that subscribe button. If you've never subscribed to our channel before, you get in all the Chargers news and rumors that you could possibly ever want. Now, with negative rest, it can lead to some bad things. The Raiders only won 3 games last year, ended up being the worst team in the National Football League. The Commanders took a significant step back. Now, you're going to have a pushback on that, which I promise we will get into in a second. And then the Saints, they only won 6 games. And honestly, they started winning more games once Tyler Shuck got in. Now, I think it's going to be important to kind of mention, and some people will say this, where you're going to say the rest doesn't matter necessarily as much as the roster matters, right? When you look at the Commanders, Jaden Daniels got hurt. Because he got hurt, well, that led to less games being won. The Saints, they won 6 games, but they won most of those games once Tyler Shuck came in. So, Will, it isn't the rest differential necessarily that hurts teams as much. It's more so the roster that's already there or the coaching or other things. And look, there's a multitude of factors that are going to go into why you win football games or why you lose football games. But most of the other issues or factors of why a team may win or lose a football game are all centered around things that the team itself can control. Rest, you can't control because it's controlled by the NFL, and the NFL can absolutely hose you from time to or two. When we look at the 2026 NFL season, these are going to be the teams that are hurt the most by rest differential. Los Angeles Chargers lead the way. They are number one. And now the Eagles, Dolphins don't really need a lot of rest. They're not going to be very good. And the Steelers and Chiefs. Now they're all going to have to deal with a similar issue when it comes to rest versus rust. But it definitely feels like between the Eagles, Steelers, and Chiefs, with those teams being, well, on the elder side of the roster gap right now, or age gap, they might have a lot of negative consequences for something that really isn't even their fault, especially teams like the Steelers and the Eagles. Chargers, kind of in the middle there, but there's definitely some older players on this team that are going to want more rest that unfortunately are not going to be able to get it. The NFL needs to fix their schedule-making process. Let me know if you agree or disagree with me down below in the comment section. Because in my personal opinion, there is no world where there should be such a distinct advantage for teams on something that can be easily controlled by the National Football League. Look, sometimes teams make mistakes. But in my opinion, the NFL shouldn't help those mistakes happen. My take on this first, I've got 4 reasons why the NFL absolutely hosed the Chargers is it's an unfair schedule. They are the ones who get to control who plays who and when they play them. In my opinion, the National Football League knows that they set the Chargers up for absolute failure. And instead of looking at the schedule and going, ooh, we really put them in a tough spot, the National Football League said, the fair's in August, deal with it. We'll get into more of that here in just a moment, but I do need to let you know that today's show is also made possible by SeatGeek. When it's time to get out of the house, there's not many better options right now than a ball game. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including sports, concerts, festivals, and more. I thought it would be fun to look at the Chargers schedule on SeatGeek. You can go right to the Chargers homepage when you search it up, and you will be able to find tickets for every Chargers game on SeatGeek. I thought it'd be fun to look at that Arizona Cardinals matchup. I looked for a green dot, so I knew that I could be getting the best deal. I always like to be near the end zone so I can see the most amount of touchdowns possible. Whether it's a Chargers game with a special lady friend or a Co-Wetzel concert with the boys, SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. So look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. And of course I have a code for you guys. You can use code CHAT10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with the promo code CHAT10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you so very much, SeatGeek. This is a historically bad schedule for a team to deal with in the National Football League. There have been very few, really none, teams in the NFL that have had to deal with a schedule like the Chargers are going to have to deal with this season. The Chargers have a rest differential of negative 24 games. Almost the entire month of February. Chargers opponents are going to have 24 more days of rest in total compared to the Los Angeles Chargers. That is the 4th largest amount since 1990. It's the 2nd largest amount since the year 2000. There are people that are watching this program that were not born in 2000. It's the 1st largest since 2013. That's insane. The Los Angeles Chargers are absolutely getting hosed by the National Football League. So much so that they had to go all the way back to the 90s to find multiple teams that were dealing with a rest differential like the Chargers. How in the world does this happen? The National Football League, I get it. Making schedules, it's not easy. It's a difficult thing that teams have to do and that they're going to have to deal with. But I think we could also all understand that there is a opportunity for the NFL to make an amend to this or to make fixes. Once you make the schedule, go through and look at what everyone has to deal with and then go, oh, hey, maybe we shouldn't have a team play 4 teams off of a bye and then another 2 teams off of mini buys. And when I say mini bye, essentially they're getting an extra, instead of 7 days, it's 8, 9, 10, depending on when they played those games. It's ridiculous that the Los Angeles Chargers have to deal with this, and there should be a lot of shame brought on the National Football League for this. It's also important to note, I still think that this Chargers team can overcome these issues and can overcome this adversity. But the fact that the Chargers have to deal with this right now, in my personal opinion, is absolute hogwash and malarkey. The Chargers, they're going to be a good team. They are a team that will be able to overcome this adversity. But I don't feel like the deck should be stacked against them. And it certainly feels like the NFL did that. Hit the thumbs up button if you trust Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers to come away with a big-time victory this season, week after week after week. I think this team can win the AFC West. Hit the thumbs up button if you agree with me. Subscribe to the channel because you love the Los Angeles Chargers and you love everything that we are doing here. You'll get kept up to date with everything that you need to know on the team. Make sure you tell someone that you love them today, and as always, bolt up.